The film opens with Tom Mullen, the owner of an airline, throwing an extravagant party in his upscale New York City apartment. This event serves as the launch for his latest commercial, which narrates the story of how Tom transformed into a self-made multimillionaire in the airline industry. Meanwhile, a tense montage reveals a group of kidnappers preparing a hideout for their hostage. Later, Tom, his wife Kate, and their son Sean visit a science fair in Central Park, where Kate is serving as a judge. During the fair, Sean strays from his parents and is abducted by a gang that includes Maris Connor, a caterer for the Mullins, along with the criminal brothers Clark and Cubby Barnes, and Tech was Miles Roberts. They swiftly toss him into the back of a white van and speed away. Realizing their son is missing, Tom and Kate launch a frantic search. The kidnappers reach out to the Mullins with a chilling video message showing Sean, blindfolded and chained to a bed. An electronically masked voice demands a ransom of $2 million, threatening Sean's life if the authorities or media are alerted. Despite the warning, Tom and Kate feel compelled to inform someone and contact the FBI. The agents arrive disguised as carpenters, led by Agent Lonnie Hawkins, who inquires whether the couple wishes to negotiate or comply with the ransom. They reveal they have 2 suitcases ready for the exchange, awaiting further instructions from the kidnappers. Meanwhile, at the Brooklyn hideout, Cubby develops a soft spot for Sean and decides to venture out to a nearby bodega for some snacks and videos. However, while he shops, the NYPD is investigating a thief who attempted to rob the store, and Detective Jimmy Shaker becomes suspicious of Cubby's presence. As the sun sets, Tom continues driving, unaware that Jimmy is trailing him a few cars back. Over the radio, Jimmy mocks Tom, suggesting he has a knack for buying his way out of tricky situations, like the one involving the union leader. When Tom realizes that his attempts to reach out to his son are falling on deaf ears, he pulls over to the side of the road, but it's too late for Jimmy to notice. Gradually, the radio signal weakens, and it dawns on Tom that Jimmy has been following him. Once back on the road, the signal strengthens again, and Jimmy directs Tom to take a turn toward a nearby rock quarry. There, Tom is expected to hand over the cash in exchange for an address to his next destination. Upon arriving at the quarry, Cubby appears on an ATV, demanding the money. However, when Tom inquires about the address, Cubby disregards him and lunges for the cash. Just then, an FBI SWAT team descends from 2 helicopters, ready to apprehend Cubby. In a desperate attempt to escape, Cubby grabs the money and tries to flee, firing back at the SWAT team, injuring one as they rappel down. A sniper from the helicopters takes a precise shot, hitting Cubby in the neck and causing him to crash. Tom rushes to Cubby, but he is fatally wounded and dies without revealing the address. Enraged, Tom blames the FBI for eliminating the only lead to his son. However, Hawkins calms him down, explaining that identifying the drop man provides a valuable lead. They discover that Cubby is a small-time thief who often associates with his brother Clark, a more significant player in the criminal world. Tracking down Clark could potentially lead them to Sean. Meanwhile, at their hideout, Clark is seething over his brother's death, and he and Maris agree that their best course of action is to eliminate Sean and abandon their plans. In a fit of anger, Jimmy scolds both parties and firmly asserts that the ransom plan will proceed as intended. Meanwhile, at Tom's penthouse, news of Sean's kidnapping and the ransom drop-off has spread, capturing the attention of the media. Jimmy places another call to Tom, providing fresh directions for the money drop. After using an FBI decoy to mislead the press, Tom contemplates the instructions but ultimately decides to change course. He instructs Jimmy to tune into Channel 5 News for the next few hours before abruptly ending the call. Tom then heads to the news station, where he interrupts the broadcast with a special announcement. Sitting behind a desk surrounded by the $2 million ransom, he addresses the kidnappers directly, declaring that he will not pay the ransom. Instead, he offers the money as a reward for information leading to the capture or demise of the kidnapper. Tom asserts that the kidnapper will never see the ransom and will increase the reward if his son is released. Returning to his stunned wife and Hawkins, who are taken aback by this unconventional approach, Tom manages to persuade his wife that this is the best way to secure their son's return. He believes that Cubby's behavior during the first drop indicates a deadly intent once payment is made. While Jimmy is losing grip on his crew, who are now more inclined to eliminate Sean, especially with a bounty on their heads. In a desperate move, Jimmy devises a new strategy to counter Tom's plan. He sends a note to Kate, instructing her to meet at a renovated church at 2 a.m. without her husband's knowledge. Wearing a ski mask, Jimmy ambushes her, threatening to harm Sean if his ransom demands are not met, leaving Kate shaken and holding Sean's blood-stained shirt. As Kate returns home, it's clear she's deeply unsettled, and her confidence in Tom's strategy starts to waver. Hawkins seizes on this vulnerability, trying to drive a wedge between them to ensure the ransom is paid. He believes this is the best chance for Sean's safe return. However, Tom has a different plan in mind. Exiting his apartment, he steps directly into a throng of reporters gathered outside, announcing that he is increasing the reward to $4 million. Shortly after, Jimmy contacts Tom again, allowing Sean to say a few words before insisting on the ransom payment. Neither man is willing to back down, leading to a heated exchange, during which Jimmy threatens to kill Sean and fires a gun at a nearby wall to intimidate Tom and Kate into thinking the worst has happened. The call abruptly ends, leaving Tom and Kate in a state of dread. Meanwhile, at Jimmy's location, things seem to be unraveling. He heads to a nearby laundromat to gather his thoughts while Clark and Miles prepare to leave in their white van. Back at the house, Maris considers taking Sean's life once more. In a bid to turn the situation to his advantage, Jimmy devises a plan. From the laundromat, he uses his radio to make a distress call, then steps outside, flashing his badge to arrest Miles and Clark. Realizing they've been betrayed, the duo attempts to flee, but Jimmy shoots them both before planting a revolver on Miles. Just then, Maris appears from the house and shoots Jimmy in the shoulder. Despite his injury, Jimmy retaliates and kills Maris. As police units rush to the scene, Jimmy stumbles back into the house, positioning himself beside Sean's bedside and reporting that he has located both the kidnappers and Sean. He stays in this spot until the emergency service unit breaks into the hideout and finds him. Shortly after, Tom and Kate are informed of the discovery and are joyfully reunited with their son. As Jimmy is placed into an ambulance, Tom expresses his gratitude for saving his child's life. In the following days, Jimmy is celebrated as a hero by both his friends and the community. Meanwhile, at the Mullins residence, Sean continues to struggle with the aftermath of his kidnapping. He feels anxious about being left alone in the dark, and his eyes are still adjusting to the light after being blindfolded for most of the ordeal. A few days later, Jimmy pays a visit to Tom's penthouse to claim the $4 million reward. Tom agrees, and they head to his study where he starts to write a check. During this process, Jimmy poses a pointed question. Why didn't Tom just pay the ransom? Tom responds by saying that the kidnapper was human garbage, and that if it had come down to it, he would have gladly paid 10 times the reward to get his son back. As they converse, Sean appears in Tom's line of sight, and upon catching a glimpse of Jimmy's face and hearing his voice, he freezes and accidentally urinates down his pants. Tom notices this out of the corner of his eye and remembers that some news reports suggested the police doubted Maris was the main kidnapper, hinting at an accomplice who might have escaped. Sean quietly slips away, while Tom approaches Jimmy to hand over the check. However, Jimmy senses Tom's hesitation and realizes the businessman is onto him. He then insists that Tom call his bank and wire the $4 million directly to his account, brandishing a gun to reinforce his threat. Tom responds by proposing to take Jimmy to his bank to wire the money from there, assuring him that afterward, he will arrange for Jimmy to be flown anywhere he wishes. Jimmy hesitantly agrees to the situation but warns Tom that he might one day come back to finish off Sean. They exit the apartment, and Tom makes a call from his car phone. Under the guise of arranging a flight for Jimmy, Tom is actually reaching out to Hawkins and the FBI. He mentions a stop at the bank before heading to the airport. Although Jimmy senses a potential betrayal, Tom hangs up before he can activate the speakerphone. After exchanging friendly words with a few police officers outside the bank, Tom and Jimmy enter, where they are treated like VIPs. Tom transfers the funds to Jimmy's account, all part of a plan to buy time since the FBI has tipped off the NYPD about Jimmy. Once they leave the bank, Jimmy realizes the trap when the earlier officers attempt to apprehend him. In a panic, he pulls out his gun and shoots both officers before fleeing into traffic. Tom quickly pursues him, trying to bring him under control. The struggle escalates in front of a nearby store. Tom manages to seize Jimmy's gun and points it at him just as the police arrive, demanding his surrender. Despite being gravely injured, Jimmy reaches for a backup weapon hidden in his ankle holster. As he draws it, Tom fires a single shot and Hawkins follows up with 3 more, all 4 bullets striking Jimmy and resulting in his death. Shortly after, Kate appears, and she and Tom walk away as the police secure the area. If you like this video, feel free to hit the like button, and if you didn't, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure.